Hi, ladies and gentlemen. I want to go through, make a video and go through the expectation for lesson 10 slides because there is a lot of work that you need to do, and I want to make sure that everybody fully understands what they're going to be graded on and the point values for each slide. So let's take a look at first slide 2, which is our warm-up. Straightforward, your opinion, drag down here which one doesn't belong. Any one of these you can justify, explain in here why you think that one you chose, and then in this last box, just tell me how is 2 to the third power different from 3 to the second power. There are a couple different ways, so just pick one of them and type it out in here. At the bottom here, I also linked a calculator in case you need to find some answers or some values. You can use that to help you out. Okay. Then on 3, we have our video for the day. You can click here, and then if it doesn't work, there's also a second upload link right here, and our exponent notes. One thing I want to say first is that this guy here is worth 1 participation point. Then we have some notes here, which are going to be really helpful for how to write exponents in this lesson. There's 2 ways that you can write it. You can actually write it with a superscript, or you can just use this caret key to show that it's a power. Both ways. I have a video here that shows you how to do the superscript if you want, or you can just use this caret symbol. Some directions for this next activity. We're going to write in expanded form and then exponential form. And I have on this next slide 6, it has directions and it tells you what does expanded form look like, what does exponential form look like. So then we're on slide number 7, and this is where the work really comes in. This guy here, I'm going to say, is worth 4 participation points, and we have a couple different ways of or examples that you can look at when you're trying to help yourself with this. First thing that you can do is you can look at this little image up here, and it has each one of these broken down, and it shows you how to break it down into expanded form and then how to bring it back together, add those exponents to get this 2 to the 5th power right here. So you're going to expand out in this box, and you're going to write my exponential here. Then in this box down below, you're going to write your rule when they have the same base and you're multiplying. Okay, so then we look at slide number 8. Slide number 8 is basically the same thing here. You're going to look at this example up here, and you're going to say to yourself, oh geez, I have 3 groups of 2 times 2. So in this box here, you're going to write 3 groups of 2 times 2, and then you're going to count up how many 2's you multiply and write it as an exponent over here. Same thing here. Solution slide for your answers. You need to make sure that you write your rule in this box next door. Okay. Then this last slide here, this one is worth 3 participation points. Each box is worth a half. So I'm really going to be focusing on these exponential forms here because sometimes it's a little bit difficult to show it in expanded form. So if the expanded form is difficult, just try to take a look at and write it in the exponential form using this rule of subtracting your exponents. Okay, then I have a direction slide, which also has another link to the calculator to find each of the values in the table. Let me show you what I expect you to fill in. On slide 11, it also has some description of how to put exponents into the calculator, which buttons you need to press, and another link to the calculator here. Okay, then on slide number 12, you are expected to fill in these boxes at the top of the PowerPoint here. So you're expected to use the calculator and find the value of 2 to the 3rd power and type it in here. 2 to the 2nd, 2 to the 1st, 2 to the 0, 2 to the negative 1st power, making sure that you write it as a fraction just like these guys are written. Then you need to describe the relationship between 2 to the 4th and 2 to the negative 4th, 2 to the 3rd, 2 to the negative 3rd. Write it out here. It's going to be a similar rule, but you need to make sure that you write it out in both boxes. Then you say, when you're raising a number to a negative exponent, what happens? If you need to look ahead at slide number 15 to help you with that one, that's fine. Please go ahead and do that. This slide right here is worth 4 participation points. So make sure that you fill in all these boxes at the top and all of these boxes here, because this one's worth 4 participation points. Then if we scroll forward to slide number 13, you don't need to fill in this table up here again, but you need to fill in these answers here. So you need to find out what's the value of 2 to the 0 power, 5 to the 0, 100 to the 0 power, and then last, what is the rule when you're raising a number to a 0 exponent? What is the rule going to be? Once again, if you need to look forward to slide number 15 to write it down, that's perfectly fine. Okay, now we come to 14 and 15. These are the 2 most important slides in this whole presentation. We have the rules that you learned on all of these slides that came ahead of us. So first, multiplying powers with the same base, you add your exponent numbers. When you're dividing, you subtract your exponent numbers. When you're multiplying a power times a power, you multiply those 2 exponent numbers. Next here, on slide number 15, we have a power to a negative exponent. So that means when we have a negative number in our exponent, you have to reciprocate it, and you have to write it as a fraction of 1 over that exponent, which we can simplify, in this case, to 1 over 49. Then, when we raise a number to the 0 exponent, it is always, every single time, no matter how big the number is, going to be 0. Okay, so then we're going to come down to slide number 16, and you're going to use the rules from slide 14 and 15 to find these values. So you're going to have to use the rule, that 0 rule. You're going to have to use the negative rule. You're going to have to use the multiplication rule, the now multiplying a power times a power rule, and then our division rule. Last slide we're going to have to look at is this guy here. All of the rules that you're going to need are on this slide already. You don't even have to move to the other slides. You simply fill in all of these values here. I'll go through them and give you some tips and pointers if any of them are incorrect. Last is our must-do. Please make sure that you do that must-do form so that we can get both forms of credit for today. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me.